All the content contained in this webcast is for informational purposes only. The investments and strategies contained in this webcast may not be suitable for you. Please consult your own independent financial advisor before making any investment or trading decisions. Good morning, traders and investors around the world, and welcome to Wednesday's wild edition of PremarketInfo.com, where we prepare you for all the street coverage of Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook, lots of coverage on this one here, Joel. This morning I've got 16 different analysts initiating new coverage. Some bullish, nobody flat out bearish, but not a lot of great comments there. And I think that's why you're seeing the stock trade down here in the pre-market at 32.43.
Yeah, I was thinking of letting go of those 28 calls yesterday, but I figured why try and pick a top, even though there was a double top in there, 33.44, 33.45, the high from yesterday, and also the high from Friday there, Monday. So that was a tempting area. Now it's a buck lower, makes it tough, but I think it's going to climb its way back up today since Goldman Sachs was the one with the buy rating on it.
Yeah, Goldman Sachs was the one with the buy rating.
Yeah, whatever they say, it's golden. Did hit a whopping 34.27 in the pre-market, sold off as low as 32.19. We'll see if we can come back down to that level during the day. But, you're not going to see your next big move up in Facebook until we can break above this 33.50 level.
It's just interesting. All these price targets here, I'm just looking at them. 35, 34, 42, 40, 38, 41, 41, 45, 38.50 from all your different analysts here. None of those, or all of those price targets are lower than the thing opened at $42 that day. So nobody thinks it's going to get back to where it was when right after the IPO there. Oh, actually, there is one. J.P. Morgan, $45 price target. So there is one analyst that says it might get back up to there, but I don't know. What do you think overall? So you think it's going to move up here? You think it's going to bounce back?
I think it's going to go back and test that 33.50 level.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to do it back today, but I just think in order for the thing to make its next big move, you got to break above that double top. But that surely is not going to move as much today as Best Buy did yesterday.
Man, Best Buy flying yesterday. Obviously, I'll bring you the day chart here just to show you the action. It was crazy there, especially near the close. Rumors that they may take the company. I think was it private? Take the company private there, Joel?
Yes.
Yeah. So the stock was trading very active yesterday. Had a wild spike there right near the close. Is that right on the charts? I'm reading that spike. Did it really spike in the last 20 minutes there up to 21? Or is that just a bad tick? 21.31?
I mean, it's on the chart. I mean, I got a high 21.59.
Actually, yeah, it's 21.59. So if that really did spike up to there, which I actually didn't have it on my charts yesterday, I don't know if that's a bad trade, but yeah, it looks like it did spike up to there. So crazy rumors. It was drifting up all day and then took off, but kind of came back to where it was trading at 19.23 now. It's hard to say on these companies. It gets a good spike like that. Like we've said for all these, when these companies, especially this one's had terrible 3 or 4 months, gets a spike back. A lot of people use that opportunity to take or enlighten their position. I don't really see. I see a little bit of resistance if it gets back up. Obviously, use that spike from yesterday if it started to go in rally mode again. I don't see it doing that again. But when fundamentals, come into play, technicals go away. So you want to be careful if you're trading this technically right now because there's just too much potential news on it.
Right. Nice double bottom from Monday and Tuesday, 1839, 1847. So if you're trying to pick it up on the cheap, that's a good area to keep an eye on. We did close in 1937, just kind of trading around that in the pre-market. Pre-market high of 1949, and we've had a pre-market low of 1908. So perhaps people that were short the stock for a long time getting a little bit of nervous with the rumors to go private. So I think you'll have to see this thing well bid today.
I'd be nervous too if I was short this stock. I mean, there is value here. you don't know long term what Best Buy looks like. But when there's rumors like that circulating around, it's very very risky play to go short the stock because you just never know what might happen, especially since the stock is near its 52-week low, obviously, in that whole 18 handle. Lots of other news here, though, too. We got Lennar with earnings, LEN, the symbol on that one. Stock is taking off in the pre-market, trading at 28.65, so it's up about a buck 20 on the earnings. I think Barron's had a note actually that they would stay away from the home builders. Well, most of the home builders are actually trading higher here this morning, so I guess nobody's listening to that Barron's article because Lennar is trading higher off its earnings, but you've got all the other home builders moving up in sympathy here as well. You've got Toll Brothers, you've got KB Homes up, all of these trading higher in the pre-market. But let's just look back to Len. Where do you think this one's going today?
It's opening into a nice area of resistance. You had a bunch of highs back in the end of May, 28.40, 28.50. Also a spike up there to $29 level. I keep a real close eye on the $29 level. We have hit 28.75 in the pre-market. We're only up on 31,000 shares. Not a ton of volume. But nevertheless, you gotta keep it. I think there'll be good resistance from 28.75 to 29.
Yeah, I almost think there's probably some big institutional sellers, especially since you had that double top up in that 29 area before actually it was pointing up at 30. But 29 does look big to me as well. It's a big whole number. When your stocks start moving up here and they haven't been up there for a while, sometimes those whole numbers do come into play. KB Homes is another one, low price stock. A lot of our listeners do like to trade low price stocks. Moving up on really no volume, though only traded 650 shares, but it is up in sympathy here. Trading at 873 right now. It's offered at 869, so it looks like it's going to open higher. The high on that spike there from about 6 trading sessions ago is 881. I think $9 would be big on this if it gets up there to that area. I think it'll find resistance because it was finding resistance in late May in that $9 area.
Pre-market high at 873. That's currently where we're resting. If you go back, you are correct at 881 high on June 19th will be resistance. But that $9.915 was the high on May 2nd. That should be good resistance as well. I mean, where are these companies building houses? I mean, I don't. Where's the big pickup in building going on in America?
It's hard to say, but a lot of them have been on pretty good runs. So I agree. I think there's a lot of houses available on the secondary market. You really need to go out and be buying a brand new house. You can get some pretty good deals out there, at least in most of the cities, just from buying current existing houses. So fundamentally speaking, I agree with you. But technically, a lot of these stocks, like look at Toll Brothers here, this thing really isn't too far off. It's high there. And if you go out farther, just to give you an idea on Toll on the weekly, the stock where it bottomed, if you go way back when we were, earlier, I guess last year it was, got down to $13. The thing's trading up at 26 right now. So somebody's banking that this is turning, this whole sector is turning around. Toll Brothers trading 27.40 right now too. Want to do a quick technical on that one as well?
Yeah, 27.63 was the high back on May 31st, so we should keep an eye on that level. Has not quite reached that in the pre-market. Running into a lot of problems here at 27.50. Yeah, actually not that much. Only 400 shares are traded. So we keep an eye on the opens on these things. I mean, they're opening up pretty good percentage-wise, so if you don't get a lot of follow through off the open, these things just may fall back in and trade into yesterday's range.
That's a good point to make. That opening 2 or 3 minutes is often an indicator if the stock's going to be strong or weak. If they open at the highs and they just start tanking right away, then you use that high as a reference point. If it opens at at the low and starts rallying, then you use that point as a reference point. Again, the opening print is always a good reference point. But you just want to be careful when you're trading these things because when they're up on news like this, they can be wild. And sometimes you see a lot of people really wanting in and they put their orders in there before the market opens and then they all get filled right at the same price. And then, the stock turns around, starts going the other way. Sometimes designated market maker on the floor open it a little bit higher than what maybe some people thought it was going to open and it can tank. So it all depends on how high these things open as well. But when they come into resistance area, use those old reference points and sometimes you can get some pretty good trades off the open.
Okay, earnings on General Mills.
Yeah, General Mills has earnings just reported. Not a lot of volume here, though, so it's going to be hard to really get a gauge on it. It's only traded 530 shares, 38.15, just a few shares going off flat there. Could be tricky to figure this one out, but technically this is a stock with a low beta, so it's not going to have a wild range. I'd look at yesterday's high as a first stopping point, maybe 38.55. But look at the pre-market action. We're an hour away right now, so if you're going to trade this, bring up the pre-market, 5 or 10 minutes before the open, see where the stock is trading, get a feel for where it wants to open. But technically speaking, this $39 area I think is going to be pretty good resistance up there because you had three highs in a row. 38.96, 38.94, and 38.92. So that whole area just indicates to me that there might be some type of big seller at 39 because those high frequency guys like to lean on those sellers, and that might be why it's topped out 3 days in a row there at those 38.90s. So I'd keep an eye on that area if I was trading the stock today.
It looks like they were at 39 and then they changed their mind. They brought the order down to the 38.60 or 38.55 area because you did have
Right.
three tops right there bumping up against 39. And then lo and behold, the next day it comes down and three tops around the 38.50 area. I think sometimes, especially in a stock like this, I mean, it does do decent volume. But what probably an institution likes to do is they really want to sell at 38.50. They don't want to show their order too much to the street. High frequency traders, they let it get above 38.50, and then they set in the order to sell 50 or 100,000, hoping that there's a bids there already and they can get the liquidity off. Perhaps they're catching on to our tricks of high frequency trading.
38 just noticed that 38 just started trading, so it is trading slightly down now. About 2,000 shares just traded down there near the $38 level. So interesting if it does take out that 38 handle. Obviously, you want to keep a low eye on that low if it really starts to get weak. That June low at 37.50. So we don't know where it's going to open, but keep an eye on those reference points: 37.50 on the downside and 38.90s on the upside. Monsanto also reporting earnings here as well. Stock is trading higher in the pre-market, up at $79 right now, closed at 77.87. So it looks like Monsanto is going to get a lift here. This $80 level I think is huge on this stock. If it gets up to 80, I'd expect some pretty good resistance in the high 79s to that 80 area because it just looks big on the chart.
Yeah, you had a high at 79.79 on the 21st, so that should be a level to keep an eye on. Just can't really get above yesterday's high though. So use 79.09 as the swing number. If it breaks above there, you do have some pretty good real estate up to 79.79. Coming back on the downside, we are quite a ways from the settlement, so that would be major support.
Couple other ones just to highlight here. OMER is having a secondary offering, and that stock is getting rocked. The stock was at its 52-week high, I believe. I'll go a little bit further, see if that's an all-time high on OMER yesterday. I think it
Oh,
is.
what
Uh,
do they do?
throw me under the bus on these technicals. I don't know, but I'll tell you what they're doing today. They're doing a secondary offering, and the stock is down $2.50, trading at 10.75. So nobody's seen this one coming because the stock is getting rocked here in the pre-market on this secondary. 10.75 is where it's trading at right now. I mean, $10 would be absolutely enormous for this. I don't know where they priced the secondary offering, so you want to find out where they priced it when they do announce it, because that number can often act like a magnet, like we've said before, and it can sometimes give you a floor for the price too. So to figure out where, once they watch the news and when they do announce where that secondary offering price is, I don't think they have yet. Then I'd use that number maybe as some good support.
Okay, and looks like O'Reilly. I like the commercials, but looks like it's getting rocked today.
O'Reilly is getting rocked here. They lowered guidance, getting a downgrade as well, and this stock absolutely getting murdered right now on 84,000 shares. So pretty significant volume here too for this one. 82.99 is where it's trading right now. It closed at 96.44. This thing's down 13 points right now. So this is really getting hurt. We got to go back further just to try to find you some support. I don't know. Like he kind of had this run up here. This is a tricky one because he kind of just had this run up here from the low 80s and the 81.90, and then you slowly drifted up. So there isn't a lot of like double bottoms in here. Joel, where are we going on this?
Yeah, that's a good question. I was just looking at that. First of all, let's keep an eye on the low in the pre-market. That's been 81.60, so
Okay.
we are a buck 30 above that. So even though folks are going to look at down 13 bucks, it is on a rally. I'd have to go back to all those lows that you had back in
Right.
January. They're a little bit of ways above there, but they actually the highest of those lows started at 82.35. So
Okay.
I think you got to give a range in a stock like this when it's going to be so volatile. But I'd say from starting at 82.35 down 81.50. I just that all those lows in that area. It was an $80 stock back then. Had some tight ranges in there. Obviously, someone was accumulating the stock, and you got to believe they'll be back there today if it gets back down to that level.
Very possible. Bristol Myers doing a stock buyback here. So after they had that little bit of bad news from the FDA a couple of days ago, they've decided it's a good opportunity to buy their stock back. Stock is getting a lift in the pre-market. 34.79 trading right now. Where did that get down to the other day in the pre-market? Wasn't that trading down almost like at 33 bucks? Because it never opened down there because it's not on the charts. But I think in the pre-market, that might have got down, 2 days ago when they had that bad news into the low 33s. Obviously, it was a great buying opportunity because the stock never opened that low, and 33.89 and went straight up from there. I know Pfizer did the same thing. I actually had a good trade. I picked up the Pfizer when it had done that low, but it's moving up here again. Stock at trading at 34.79 right now after closing at 34.52. So I'd keep an eye on the high there that it made 35.38. I mean, if it can get all that back just on this buyback, I gotta think some people might take some money off the table. Even this whole $35 handle,
Yeah,
maybe you
yeah.
just say because it did top out. If you go back to April, you had a high right, I think right on the button at 35. So maybe they say, "Oh, get me out at 35, and I'll be happy," because I was under some heat there for a couple days.
Yeah, I can't remember how low I got in the pre-market, but I do remember it. I believe that news came out on Monday. It did open near the low and rallied. Keep a real close eye right here, right where we're trading. 34.81 was the low on Friday, and then we gapped down on Monday, and now we're coming right back up to this area. So I think the whole 34.80 up to the $35 level, people might not want to miss an opportunity to get out in that area again. Also, that spike high at 35.38 it will be major resistance, but nice little boost. But when they're buying back stock, that doesn't mean they're sending an order to the floor to buy it all on the open, folks. Let's not get too excited.
Procter and Gamble just wanted to highlight getting another downgrade. All these analysts were upgrading this thing at 66, 67. Now they're all downgrading at a 59. I think they've got it backwards here. Then, I thought the game was buy low, sell high, not sell high or buy high, sell low. But that's what RBC Capital appears to be doing today because they're downgrading Procter and Gamble. It's trading down a little bit in the pre-market, but even on the downgrades, I'm noticing Procter and Gamble now doesn't go down that much. It's starting to find some. I think there's just value investors coming in here now into something like this. What's the yield? Do you have the yield on that thing in front of you? I don't have it.
Oh, I think I looked it up over the weekend. I think it's around 3%,
Like
4%,
at a
probably.
certain point in time, the yield becomes attractive because obviously it's a place to park money. So I just can't see that much more downside from a long-term perspective on this, but RBC thinks there is. $59 I think is big on this thing. 59.07 is where it bottomed yesterday. I was noticing some institutional size buying in the $59 handle, so I think you got some big boys thinking there's some value here now too. So keep an eye on that whole $59 area. Maybe that can put a bottom in. Don't be surprised if it takes it through 59 by a few cents too, because the high frequency traders love to shake out people. They know they put stops at even numbers, so if they take it through 59, they might trigger a few stops. Wouldn't be surprised if they actually tried to do that, trigger the stops, then they turn around, buy from the stops, buy it at 58.85, 58.90, 58.95, and rally it after that. So wouldn't be surprised if this thing bottom around 58.90 today. Not trying to call the actual bottom, but I guess I am.
Yeah, I've been looking at longer term perspective on this stock really since 2010. You really haven't had much of an opportunity to buy it under 60. Of course, you had an opportunity in May of 2010 when it got to 57. You had an opportunity in September when it made well, pretty close to that area at 60.30. So needs to get it back above 60. Got some huge gaps to fill on the upside, but the downgrade certainly doesn't help today. Just going to go over quickly. We kind of glossed over the S&Ps with the Facebook news. They did make a low at 1312. That will be our area of very good support. This could be a day where you have a little bit of sell-off, but you don't quite get to the glow back slow. Tuesday's high, 1318, right in that area where you had the double bottom from last week, Thursday and Friday, right in that area. Sneaked above that in the pre-market. We need to get back above 1318 and hold that. And we got some air up to the 1326.50 level. Just quickly on the Big Ten, Apple Computer, nice head fake under 570, got down to 567. Getting a pop today. Unreal consolidation in this stock. When is this thing going to break out?
It feels like it's been trading the 570s for months, man. Like I know it hasn't been that long, but it does feel like it. This whole 570 area remains huge. You did have the head fake down, just like we say. They like to take it through a little bit, support the high frequency traders, maybe trigger some stops, buy from those, and then rally it higher. Wouldn't be surprised if this thing does get a little bit of a lift today. I just feel like this whole 570 area is still great support. If we could start getting above 575, I think this thing could run to 580. So keep that in mind too. Stock is trading 574.50 in the pre-market, up a couple of bucks.
Okay, just wanted to mention AT&T. The only reason I'm mentioning it, it had a little bit over, well, actually almost a 30-cent range, very tight yesterday. It's come down off the 36 level where the institutional sellers put the low in. Starting to find a home here under $35. A couple lows, 34.77, 85. So if you're looking to get back in AT&T here, you may have a low risk entry with a reference point to get out. The last one of the Big Ten I wanted to talk about. Look how quiet J&J has been after running into trouble at 67, getting a dip here, smack dab in the middle at 66.50. I don't know. This thing got enough steam to get up there and test that 67 again.
I tell you, if it gets up there to test it, the high frequency guys will be selling the 66.90, 66.95s because 4 days in a row it topped out up there. They know they're the institutional seller. We've been talking about it at 67. They're going to be stepping in front of him. So expect it if it gets up there in the 66.90s. Expect high frequency resistance until that 67 is taken out.
Okay, that's our show for today, folks, here. And it's not such a wild Wednesday. I think I'm going to have to retract my original statement here. But we'll be back with you tomorrow.